when Woody came in, it was like my brother coming back.
Okay.
So it was this amazing connection we had.
My name is Dave Craybill. I'm with iHempMichigan. iHempMichigan's mission is to educate, inform, and promote the research, development, and cultivation of industrial hemp here in Michigan. iHempMichigan advocates for wellness in people and the planet through hemp, and it begins with the farmer. Please support iHempMichigan. Business members receive a listing in our business membership directory, which is actively searched by thousands of visitors. We're going to start with some news today. And so, Mike Brennan, do you have some news from 420 Post?
I do. Once again, Lake Superior State University, which has a cannabis chemistry program, what they started, I think, a year ago, has now come up with some $1,200 scholarships for folks who want to learn more about cannabis chemistry. This would be, if you really want to know how to be a grower, this would be your opportunity to be in I think Lake Superior is in Marquette or near Marquette. Anyway, it's in the UP, very pretty country, but you have to like the winter a lot. And but anyway, $1,200 cannabis chemistry scholarship is available. You can get details at my website, MIMarijuanareport.com. If you want to apply for something like that. The other thing that we have on that, we just sent out our newsletter today, and one of the interesting things is the price per milligram of THC is declining in cannabis-infused products. I guess we're, the old manufacturing getting into economies of scale, or it could be the competition. It's probably both. But in any case, the prices are going down for edibles, and a week after last Friday, I guess we can speak to the edible thing, can't we, Dave? But we can't talk about that anymore. So, yes, we were at Jamie Cooper's golf outing on Friday where the whole gang was there. Blaine was there. Dave was there. And Becky came in later. And so that was a great time. We want to thank Jamie for that. So, and we were just talking before we went on the show. We'll have to do some more of these this summer now that the pandemic appears to be lessening, and get the whole band back together again, right, guys?
Oh, it was great. It was
looking forward to it. That was a lot of fun Friday. Yep. Marijuana security operations threw a nice little party on Friday night. Yep.
Yeah, we had them on 420 Post yesterday. Grady came on, and they're actually a huge operation, about 150 employees now and 21 locations, and they do a lot of physical security, but then they also do the transport. And I don't know if the hemp crowd knows, they probably know, that marijuana has to be transported in secure transports with licensed people and all that jazz. It's not like you just ship it out on UPS. So that's what he does. He's one of the bigger operators, but there's actually around 20 secure transport operators in the state, and eventually there'll be a shakeout. I don't think there's enough room for 20. Mm-hmm. But like any other thing, right now everybody's getting in. They're all trying to get their feet established in the market. Whatever happens going forward, I guess, right? So,
how about what's your next show, Mike?
We're going to be looking at the caregiver issue. It's been a real hot issue. Some of the big marijuana companies that want to kind of corner the market don't like caregivers, and they are going after them now, trying to force them to minimize, do a lot of testing and do a lot of minimize how many plants they can grow and how many patients they can work with. The whole industry started with caregivers about 12 years ago when we did the medical marijuana part, right? And so, but the big players, and a lot of them are multi-state operators coming in, they're essentially trying to, close down that competition. And there's a lot of legislation pending in Lansing. Whether it goes anywhere remains to be seen, because they've actually, shall we say, kicked the hornet's nest. The industry is not real happy about this, and there's a lot of pushback. And, of course, we stay neutral on it, but we're going to give everybody an opportunity to air their points of view next Wednesday on I guess that would be the 9th at 1 p.m. on 420 Post. And again, I'll just play referee, and we'll let people listen to what it's being said and decide whether they like it or not, and leave it at that.
Wasn't there about 30 or 40,000 caregivers in Michigan at one point? How many do we have? Do you know?
I don't know what the current number is. I know there was 300,000 medical marijuana patients.
Yeah.
Now, the state is slowly phasing out medical marijuana and moving everything into adult use anyway. I don't know the timeline on when that's going to happen, but I know it is happening. So, but at the same time, they also, these big operators want to make a lot of changes for the micro license players, which is, I think you can do 144 plants. But the deal there is that you have to, it's all vertical. You can't sell to other operations. You got to sell in your own centers. You got to move a lot of product. And so they're going after that too. They're trying to limit that. Again, and part of it, I can honestly say that they're just trying to limit the competition. They want to, the big boys want to take over the market, and they're really running into a buzzsaw of opposition right now from the legacy people that have been here, right? And the ones that created the market, and they're not going to go away quietly.
Good, as they shouldn't. Yep.
All right. Well, it'll be a good show next week then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple things, and then we'll get into our speaker, and then I'll have more at the end of the show. But one of the things that's interesting, U.S. Hemp Roundtable is coming out with a webinar, a free one. It's June 22nd from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's navigating regulations in the hemp industry. So very good talk they're going to have there. Amber Littlejohn is going to be the webinar speaker for that. And they're going to be covering labeling and navigating the regulatory compliance and where to start and how, useful resources. They're going to talk about future projections for compliance. And then also there's other panelists that'll be on there. So certainly a great free webinar from US Hemp Roundtable with that. Next week, I'll be joining the show from Denver. Becky and I are going to take our first trip that we've done in 4 years. So it's going to be interesting. And US Hemp Roundtable is having their quarterly meeting. So iHempMichigan is an advocacy member of that. And we're going to be present there to talk about and learn about all the stuff they have going on there. So look forward for that. Also, I want to remind everybody that one of the requirements you have this year under the Industrial Hemp Program is to certify your acres with the USDA, the Farm Service Agency. Pretty simple process to do, but you got to make sure you get it done. And I would get a hold of them sooner rather than later. If you know you're planting, if you've already got planted, give them a call. There's a little bit of paperwork you got to fill out. You're going to get a pretty cool map on the end of it to where your farm is. But there's a requirement you have to do, and don't delay on that. It's pretty simple to do, but they get really busy. The deadline is July 15th, and they're just going to get busier and busier because everybody's planted early this year. So if you got questions, shoot me a text, an email, call me, whatever, and I'll help you get through that. But I've already helped a couple members get through that process. So another big thing we got coming up, and I'll talk more about this at the end of the show, is going to be Friday, June 25th. We're going to have our Hemp Working Network event in Holland at the Crazy Horse Saloon at 7 o'clock. And then the following day, Saturday, we're going to have a hempcrete workshop that we're going to have, a great event for the kids to come out and play with a little hempcrete and make some tiles for the farm and for the critter farm. And that's going to be, and it's located very closely to Holland and Zeeland, Michigan. So we'll have more information on that, but it's going to be a fun time for everybody. If you're in the area, come on out and join us. We'd love to see you. Every month, we're going to try to have a hemp working event somewhere. One of the events we have planned coming up is going to be kind of a poker road rally. We're going to go to different hemp cultivations and be able to have some fun there, and then meet at the end and see who has the best hand. We'll have some great prizes and stuff for that. So plan that event too. We'll let you know more about that. And Dave, I'll have more stuff at the end of the show, but that's kind of it for right now.
There's 2 more webinars coming up that I just want to let people know about. Food Chain ID and the U.S. Hemp Authority have an event on June 8th at 1 p.m. And they're going to talk about they're going to review regulations and how they apply to the hemp CBD products and discuss the requirements for U.S. Hemp Authority certification, which I think is an interesting path for us to take. Is, we don't have guidance from the government, but the industry can self-regulate and we can, do best practices. The other event is building hemp CBD brand credibility. And I'm sorry, I put it on my calendar. I'm going to put these things in our calendar on iHempMichigan.com. So we're going to get those updated there. So I'll have those listed there. So I'm not seeing who this is, but I joined it and it's not on my calendar.
While you look for that, Dave, let me talk a little bit more about the U.S. Hemp Authority. So like Dave said, self-regulation is happening. I'm actually helping a member right now, iHemp member that's going through a certification process. And so it is kind of a big deal to be able to know that you're putting out a good, safe, healthy product to everybody and following good practices. So if you're a manufacturer, that kind of stuff, certainly having that seal from the U.S. Hemp Authority will mean a lot as we move forward with the industry. So it's coming, it's going to be regulated. The fruits and vegetables, the FSMA rules they had there, this will probably fall under those FSMA rules at some point in time, because this is a product that is consumed. And so you want to kind of walking down that road, get yourself prepared for that. Mm-hmm.
All right, excellent. So our guest today, as you can see, he's not here. Joe Hickey. I've heard him referenced as a godfather of hemp, and I can see why. So Joe brings 28 years of hemp industry experience and relationships to Halcyon's portfolio and acts as a spokesperson for corporate relations. Well, Joe is tied up today in some negotiations, some financial things. He might be going public or something along that line. So, but I wanted to talk to Joe. So yesterday I got Joe and we recorded in a brief interview. Well, it's not brief. We recorded an interview, and so I'm going to play that now. But Joe's, and it'll explain it, because Joe's one of those guys. He worked with Woody Harrelson back in the 90s and caused some havoc and helped. He was the instigator for the industry. So I wanted to share this conversation with Joe, which I will pull up right now. I got my countdown timer.
And if you have any questions on it, please put them in the chat. We'll try to answer them as best we can. And if not, we will get the answers back for you. So
yeah. Joe's real approachable. Today to have Joe Hickey. All right. So let me get this. I got this all queued up. Here we go.
I heard his voice.
And of course, it's not the right screen. Here we go. Well, I'm excited today to have Joe Hickey from Benchmark CBD, if I'm correct, because your card here says Halcyon, but you have some changes in the work, Joe. But hey, before we get into that, Joe, when did you get into the hemp space?
It was actually, I just come back from Central America. I was working down in Belize, building roads and bridges and low-income housing for some. Back then in Guatemala, they were having a lot of immigrants coming over. So I was working down there, and I'd come back to the States, and I was looking to for what I was going to do next, and I just happened across this article in these old newspapers that my dad had. And I read this headline, I think it was 1942 or 43, and it said that F.G. Clay was resigning from the Kentucky Hemp Growers Co-op, and at the behest of Roosevelt to come to Washington, D.C. and run the Hemp for Victory program. And it just, I was taken back by it, because we have the Kentucky Tobacco Growers Association, but to hear that there was a Hemp Growers Association just blew me away. And I kind of like is this real, or did this really happen? Or, you know, it's in a newspaper, I'm assuming it did. So that was kind of the part where I stuck my toe in the water to see what the temperature was. And and so from there, once I saw that, I wanted to you know, make sure that it was true. So I went over to the Kentucky State Secretary of State's office and asked him, you know, do you have the records for the Kentucky Hemp Growers Cooperative Association? And you and Dave, the look on his face when I said that, because back then hemp and marijuana were synonymous.
Yeah.
And
what year was this?
This was 92.
Okay.
And so you know, and I didn't have long hair then. You know, I did when I was younger, but you know, I was clean cut and everything. But he looked at me like, okay. And so he starts looking in his computer, and he looks for a few minutes. He says, Mr. Hickey, we don't have anything, you know, here under that name. And I went, daggone it, you know. I said, okay. I said, you sure? And he said, yeah, there's nothing there. And I went, okay. I said, I appreciate it. So I turn around, I'm walking out. And, you know, in those state capitals, they have the big marble walls and ceilings that are real tall and everything, and wide hallways. And so I'm walking down, and, you know, that's pretty good far away, but I heard him say something, and I didn't even know if he was talking to me, but I, you know, walked back and stuck my head in the door. I said, did you say something? He said, yeah. He said, what year was that? And I said, I don't know, the early 40s, 42, 43, something like that. And he said, well, heck, he said, that wouldn't be in our computer anyway. He said, that'd be down in the archives. And this was on a Friday afternoon, Dave. So he says, give me your name and phone number and everything. And he said, next week, if I get a chance, I'll go down and see if I can, you know, if I can find something for you. And I said, okay. So left all that. And so fast forward to Monday morning, it's about 9:30. The phone rings. This guy, well, I found it. You know, he's like, I said, whoa. I said, who is this? He said, it's Gary over at Secretary of State's office. And he said, I found all these records for the Kentucky Hemp Growers Co-op. And I was going, okay. I said, I'm on the way. So I immediately hopped in the car, drove over there. And he had the tax records. He had the original corporation papers. I mean, you know, he had all this info. And so I go through it, and there's like, I don't know, 20 names on the corporation papers. And I'm wondering, why is there 20 people on the corporation papers?
Yeah, that's a lot. So
I took it to a buddy of mine whose dad owned one of the largest family tobacco companies in the country. And he was an older gentleman then, and took it in and let him look at it. And he went, well, Joe, he said, this is the who's who of agriculture back in the 40s and 50s. Mm-hmm. And so then I knew that there was something going on. So that was kind of my entrance into it. And the more I looked into it, you know, I found out my grandfather grew hemp. Mm-hmm. And all of my friends, you know, all of these guys are farmers. And I'm, you know, the more I looked around, everybody was growing hemp. And so it took me probably a year and a half of collecting. You know, I collected like the EU rules and regulations on hemp. There was some bills that Clinton had signed that listed hemp as a critical component, you know, during a crisis. A bunch of old pictures in Kentucky. Clinton? Yeah, President Clinton.
Bill Clinton?
Yeah. Yeah, it was in one of the you know, they signed these proclamations that list stuff that are critical during times of you know, I don't know, war or whatever. But anyway, it had hemp listed in there. And but I had all these old pictures. I found a bunch of equipment, you know, that we found a hemp brake that was in a farmer's fence line. And just all these old records we found at Spears feed company had like 4 big, tall, those drawers full of, I mean, it was all these paperwork of all the people that had grown hemp and the Navy, letters from the Navy of where they were buying the hemp from him. And so I had all this information, and I was like, what do you, I've collected all this information, and, what do you I was at the point of like, what do I do from here?
Yeah.
And one of those seminal moments, or serendipitous moments, I guess, in history is when I never listened to radio, and I just happened to turn the radio on, and the announcement came on that Governor Jones, Brereton Jones, was having open door at 4. So anybody that wanted to come in and talk to the governor about anything, just come in and sign up. So I talked to my wife. I said, let's go over there. She said, no, you're crazy. I said, well, what's the sense having all this if we don't do something with it? So I finally talked her into it. We go over there, and I go in. They said, what do you want to talk to the governor about? And I sure wasn't going to say hemp. So I said, well, I want to talk to him about, because then that's when all those heads of the tobacco companies were swearing in front of Congress that they didn't believe that nicotine was addictive.
Oh.
And so I said, I want to talk to the governor about our farmers losing hemp as a mainstream crop. And so my turn comes, and so my wife and I sit in front of him, and I laid out all this information, showed him everything we had. And at the end, I had a piece of paper that we had made from underneath one of these, it was a combing piece of equipment that still had hemp fiber from back in the 30s underneath of it. And I collected it, and I beat it up with a hammer and turned it into paper. I mean, it was a job. But anyway, so I had this hemp paper. It was like Bible. You know how thin Bible paper is?
Yeah.
Like that. It would rattle when you shake it. Huh. So I asked the governor, I said, do you have a piece of paper? And he looked at me kind of funny. Well, yeah, and handed me a piece of paper. So I put the hemp paper up to it and cut out exactly the same, tore out an exact same size piece. And I said, do you have a match? And he went, yeah. He still didn't wonder what I was doing. And so I lit the regular paper up and put it in the ashtray, and it left this big black ash, and then I lit up the hemp paper I had, and it just went poof, it was gone, and there was just a little tiny gray spot left. Huh. And the governor looked at that, and he was going, wow. And actually, it didn't mean anything. I look back on it now, I don't even know why I did it, but
yeah, what possessed you to even do that? I know
it. So he was like, wow, and he said, well, Joe, he said, what would you, if you were governor, he said, what would you do with all this information? And I said, well, Governor, if it was me, I'd form a task force to look into seeing if what I'm telling you is true or not. And he said, well, Joe, I don't have any doubt that what you're telling me is true. And I said, well, it's not so much about that, Governor. It's more the public perception. If you form a task force, then it gives credibility to it versus just you saying it. And he looked at me, he said, Joe, he said, I think you're exactly right. And he looked over at Jim, I forget his last name, but it was his ag liaison. And he said, I want you to work with Joe. And he said, let's do this. So that was kind of the beginning of really where Kentucky got on the map. And so formed a task force and started going into that. And then I'm trying to think, it was a couple months after that, a friend of mine introduced me or gave Woody my number, Woody Harrelson. Okay. And so Woody called me up, and he'd heard about what we were doing, because we were getting a lot of PR, because we were going to the Farm Bureau meetings, county fairs, and just anywhere we could go to try to educate people. Because what happened early on, Dave, we had gone to some legislators and said, we want to put a bill up to allow farmers to grow hemp. And they looked at us, they was going, we wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, because people don't know the difference between hemp and marijuana. Mm-hmm. And until you do that, until we can get, until we can get the people, until you educate the people, I can't, there's nothing I can do. And so that's what we were doing. We were starting to get out and educate everybody.
Yeah.
So that's where we're getting all this PR. So Woody calls, and we talked for, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes, and he said, I'd like to come in and meet you. And that was on a Tuesday. So he flew in on a Thursday, and we hung out, and it was really, it was kind of, I won't say it was scary, but I had my younger brother had passed away about 3 or 4 months before that. And he was this gregarious, guy. He walked in the room, you just felt his presence there. He was just a wonderful, amazing dude. And so he, when Woody came in, it was like my brother coming back. Okay. So it was this amazing connection we had. So okay. Woody said, I want to work with you. And if there's something I can do, just let me know. I'm more than glad to do it. So, we continued on, and in '96, Woody was shooting The People versus Larry Flint, where Larry was challenging the law and everything. So Woody and I were talking, and, they had passed this law in Kentucky that made hemp basically illegal by, in the federal rules, they have an exception for hemp in the federal rules and regulations for it. And Kentucky took that part out. Oh. They took the exception out, so they made hemp completely illegal. So we got the idea of planting 4 hemp seeds. And actually, yesterday was a 25-year anniversary for when Woody planted the 4 hemp seeds.
Oh, did you talk to him yesterday?
Well, I sent him a message. I said, can you believe it's been 25 years since you planted the seeds? And he just sent me 2 words when he came back. He said, holy shit. He couldn't believe it. But, times, it flies by. And
it does.
I had no idea I'd be where I am in 25 years later. But we went through, 10 years. Well, from beginning to end, we started in 92, and then we got a bill passed in 91. But Woody went through 4 years of trials and went all the way to the Kentucky Supreme Court. They sent it back for adjudication by jury, and he was found not guilty in 2000. And then in 2001, we got a law passed finally in Kentucky with the help of then Governor Nunn, who was an ex-governor. He was a Republican governor when Nixon was in there. Okay. So he was a right-wing law and order guy that was old enough, he knew what hemp was. So he was a big proponent of it, and he helped us get the bill passed in 2001. But what gave us a head start on everybody else when the Farm Bill passed is we added 1 sentence to the end of the bill that said Kentucky immediately adopts any and all federal rules and regulations pertaining to industrial hemp. So when the federal law passed, we automatically adopted that. So, and our bill was for research, university research, because we knew that we were not going to get a bill that allowed farmers, even if we passed a bill that allowed farmers to do it, it wouldn't have done any good because until the federal passed it, we weren't going to do it anyway. So this was kind of a backdoor way of us getting to the forefront. So that was, and in the meantime, Woody and I had started a company called Kenex up in Canada because you couldn't grow it in the States. And after 4 years of trying to import it, given headaches from the customs and DEA, we finally shut it down. But it was a great business, but we just couldn't get past the import part of it because they kept thinking that this is marijuana. So that was the main issue that we had.
So what you grew in Canada? What year did you grow in Canada?
From we started a company called Kenex in '98, and then we shut it down in 2002.
Now, when did Canada? I knew Canada was like 20 years ahead of us. So is that about when Canada first started?
Yeah, Canada they went legal in '98.
98. Okay.
Well, and I tell you what happened this in 2019, when we had all this flood of material.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I warned everybody because the same thing happened in Canada that first year.
Okay.
There's a few farmers that grew seed crops and they made great money. So the following year,
everybody else wanted to jump in.
Everybody jumped in 99 and crashed the market because now there was an oversupply of it. And the same thing happened in the United States in 2019. In 17 and 18, farmers were making great money, and then everybody jumped into it. There you go.
That's from my 2019 acre. I still have
Right.
When did you first plant in Kentucky?
2014. And see, we knew it was going to happen because Jamie Comer was working with Mitch McConnell then. And so we knew that hemp was going to get passed in the Farm Bill. So we met with Jamie Comer, and see, we had developed the seed variety up in Canada, and we still had some seeds up there. So we knew that if we had to go through the DEA to get seeds here, we would never get planted.
Mm-hmm.
Or it'd be too late to plant. So I won't say we smuggled seeds in the United States.
They showed up in Kentucky.
Well, UPS was shipped them to us. So I guess they were accomplice in the thing. But we grew that. We grew the Denny seed that was named after Woody's daughter.
Oh, cool.
We grew that the first year as just a test crop, but it was more of a seed, a fiber variety than anything else.
You said Denny seed?
Denny, DENI.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's so.
Do you still have that variety growing?
Actually, we thought we had lost it, and I found some of the seeds. I guess 2 months ago.
Oh, really?
I talked to the University of Kentucky, and I gave the seed to them to keep in perpetuity for Kentucky farmers to use. Without, because who knows if probably Monsanto and some of these other companies are going to come in and start developing specific varieties. You're going to have to buy seed from them. So my idea was, let Kentucky State University control these seeds and supply them to the farmers because it was originally a Kentucky seed. We collected seeds from 92, 93, 94. I think we collected seeds for about 4 or 5 years there. Just the wild seed that was growing in Kentucky, because Kentucky had this seed variety that was developed. It was called China Mington. And I'm trying to think, Hopkins, what was his name? But anyways, this guy developed the seed variety. And so we took those seeds and went to Canada with them in 98 and crossed them with a Hungarian variety, a fiber variety. So that's where the seed came from. And so then we brought it back to Kentucky where, half of the parentage came from and grew it here. So now, that seed's going to be kept in Kentucky in perpetuity, hopefully.
Excellent. That's a good plan.
Yeah. So
how many, since you're first started, in Kentucky in 2014, have you had some commercial ventures?
Well, I started a company called Atalo Holdings in 2014. When we applied for our permit to grow hemp, and that was a whole fiasco there because we had we didn't have problems in 2014. It was 2015 when the DEA was stopping people from bringing in seeds. And so the university we were agents of the University of Kentucky. So they said we weren't agents. And then, the farmers weren't agents if they weren't actually a university researcher. So we fought that and won. And then they said, well, we're not, you can't import seeds. And we're saying, well, in the Farm Bill, it says notwithstanding anything. So you don't have any standing to say this. And so they came to Kentucky and were, they were fighting it. And we filed, or the University of Kentucky or the state filed a lawsuit against the DEA. And so we had a meeting with the federal prosecutors and the Kentucky Ag Department people. And the judge looked at the government and said, you need to go back in that room and you guys work something out. He was basically telling them if they didn't work something out, he was going to rule against them. And so the reason that today that the DEA still, you have to get a permit to import seed is because that day, the lawyers for the Kentucky Ag Department capitulated and agreed that they would get a permit from the DEA to ship seeds in there. So they set the precedence to keep the DEA in the middle of this damn thing. Sad to say.
It's still the case where you have to have a DEA permit?
Yes.
I think you did.
Well, I think that would be a good case at law to try to adjudicate.
Yeah, we need to get the DEA out of the mix. So
yeah. So after Talo ran for I think 5 years, and in 2019, I saw all this coming. And I spoke at some of the conferences and told farmers, if you don't have a solid contract with a reputable person, you're in trouble, because and I figured it out, there was more hemp grown in the state of Kentucky. There was enough there to supply every man, woman, and child a 1 ounce bottle each month for 10 years.
Oh, really?
In Kentucky.
Oh, man.
And so I said, it's growing in Colorado, it's growing all over. And, this is, farmers would get hung out to dry. And sure enough, it happened. But there were some things going on in the company that I didn't agree with, and I started the company, and we had gotten so many people on the board, and, you had a lot of business people that really didn't know anything about the industry. And so they were making some decisions I didn't agree with. So I left in, I think it was July or August of 2019, and started my own company, instead of having somebody controlling me. And so we started Halcyon Holdings. That's the card that you have, Dave.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. And so, but Benchmark is just this new technology that we've developed. And it's totally different than anything else out there, because we don't actually do an extraction. Right now, if you do extraction, you're doing CO2 or ethanol or hexane or some chemical or mechanical extraction. Mm-hmm. And you take that heavy, it's like a tar, it's like road tar that you get from the process. And then once you have that tar, then you heat it up and you mix it with your carrier oil, whether it's MCT or hemp oil or whatever it is, and you mix it together. And you got to stir it up, and it's why they pour it in a bottle and they say shake the bottle, because it settles out. Mm-hmm. This process that we have, that we've got a patent on, we invented it basically, is we put the carrier oil in the reactor. We've got these 100-gallon reactor tanks. Mm-hmm. So we put the oil in there, and then we put the floor material in there with it. And we seal it up, so now nothing can escape, because if you're using CO2 or ethanol, you're losing some of your minors and some of your terpenes and stuff. Mm-hmm. So now in our system, it's sealed up. So whatever you put in there is going to go into the oil, and instead of just being mixed in there like, regular oil that you do, ours is actually bonded. We bonded at the molecular level. So everything is actually in the oil. And if we want to flavor it, if we want to put some turmeric root in there or ginger root or mint, all that flavoring will be bonded into the oil at the molecular level. And the stuff we're doing, we just got certified USDA organic.
Oh, good.
And so we're going to be, all of the crops we're going to be doing are all organic. So we're going to be a totally chemical free, solventless process that is, it'll be a medical grade product, that's all natural.
More of
nature intended.
More of an infusion than an extraction.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So we don't even use the word. Actually, infusion is what we call it. Lipid bond is the technical thing that we're calling it. It's lipid bonding, but it's actually infusing the cannabinoids, terpenes, and flavonoids actually into the oil. So it's exciting.
Yeah. So, and tomorrow, which is today,
right?
Kind of confusing, right?
Right.
So, for our viewers, you're scheduled on the iHemp Hour, but you have some little bit of business to take care of. It sounds like you're going down that same road to bring in the other people.
Yeah. We've got once people understand what we're doing, they're blown away because we can produce like a 6,000 milligram tincture in a 1 ounce bottle without adding isolate. And we can do it all naturally. And we can do it as compliant because we can control the THC in the process. So we can make it compliant at 6,000, milligrams in a 1 ounce bottle, which is unheard of. And nobody I know is able to do that.
Okay. So yeah, it seems like that's all dependent on the flour that you're putting in the infusion.
Well, if you get some real good flour, you might get to 3,000. We were able to get to 24 pretty consistently with what we were doing at Atalo. But if you get above 3,000, it's more than likely if you're getting up 4,000, 4,500, anything up above 3,000, they're probably adding isolate to it.
Right. Yeah. I have that same situation with my distillate because when you do that extraction, it amplifies everything and that THC goes up. So with your process, it's a concentrated. So you just blend it down to whatever you want, basically.
Yeah. If we needed to go down, but if you could, what we're thinking, if like in a 2,400 milligram strength in a 1 ounce bottle, if you have 2,400 milligrams in there and there's 30 milliliters in a bottle, so if you divide 30 into the 2,400, there's 80 milligrams in each dropper, each milligram. Now there's 20 drops in a milligram. So you divide 20 into 80, so you get 4 milligrams in each drop.
Okay.
So now you have a way of figuring out, okay, do I need, 12 milligrams? Do I need 16? Do I need 24? Do I need 30? So you can do it by drops. But if you do a 4,800, now there's 8 milligrams in each drop.
Mm-hmm.
So the stronger you make it, there's more stuff you can do with it. Like you can put it in a gel, soft gel,
mm-hmm.
At a higher strength now without adding a lot of carrier oil in there. So it just adds a whole different aspect to the industry, the way we're doing it. It opens up a lot of doors, and we've got some of the bigger companies now that are looking at this because it gets them away from all the chemical stuff. You don't have to worry about explosion proof stuff. You don't have to worry about chemical spills, eye wash stations. You don't have any of those issues in what we're doing because we're just using all in floor material.
Yeah, that's clever. Yeah, it's great to see the innovation in the space. So, are you only in the cannabinoid space? Are you doing anything with fiber or grain?
No, but I always say that the CBD industry hijacked the hemp industry.
It really did.
It really did. And, because CBD and even marijuana, that's a horticultural crop. It's not an agricultural crop. It's not a mainstream crop. And that's what we're looking for, because, to be something that's going to help all farmers, it's going to have to be fiber and seed, because anybody can grow fiber or seed. It's a specialty crop is something like, like tulips. If you're growing CBD, you're growing each plant separately. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing medical marijuana, you're growing each one separately. With the fiber and the seed crop, you're just planting seeds in the ground and walking away and come back at harvest time. So it's a great rotational crop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we can offset plastics.
Right, exactly.
This is Hemp Wood from Greg Wilson at Hemp Wood.
Right, yeah.
One of the sponsors of iHempMichigan. Thank you very much, Greg.
Right.
So, yeah, it's exciting what's coming. So, so you saw that crash coming in 2019. What do you see happening now? I mean,
well, what's going to happen is all that's going to settle out. There's not going to be any more speculation in the horticultural end of it. The CBD end of it is going to be contract grow, because people want to have consistency in what they're going to be selling. So they have to have the same genetics. And so they're not going to be going out on the open market and buying, 10 different varieties and mixing them together and think you're going to have continuity in your end product.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a contract grow, and the open market will be the fiber and the grain part.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we're starting this 10-year plan instead of having this chicken and egg situation that we're in, and we found ourselves in all these years. Is, are the farmers going to grow it if they can't sell it? And is the manufacturer going to invest in the infrastructure unless he knows that, one, he's got the farmers that are going to grow for him, and two, that he has a market for what he's growing? So what we're doing is getting the end users like the Toyotas, Fords, Teslas, or anybody that uses fiber or seed, get them together with the manufacturers, the processors, and the farmers, and bring everybody to the table and say, okay, it took 40 years for soybeans to become a mainstream crop. Okay, so let's cut this down to 10 years. So we're managing everybody's expectations. We're not going to grow, 1 million acres next year. We're going to look at genetics the first year, start processing and coming up with prototypes for approval the second year, and then just third year start scaling up, fourth year, fifth year. So as long as you can manage the people's expectations and make this industry grow in a step-by-step manner, we can cut that 40 years down to 10 and make hemp a mainstream crop in 10 years.
Yeah.
But it's going to take some time.
Yeah, I know. I get frustrated, as we're working to make things happen. It seems like everything takes longer and it's harder. But then you look back and it's like, oh, look at where we're at. We have hemp frisbees. I mean,
right.
All these things are happening. There's a lot of development, so it's exciting to see it happen. And we appreciate you taking that initiative to be the spark to make things take off.
Well, it's been a long journey, but it sure has been an interesting one. I'm writing a book, so it's going to be it'll be fun. Yeah.
Well, I hope you keep us posted in your adventures and let us know how things go. Your venture sounds exciting. It sounds like it might shake up the CBD market a little bit. Do you see prices for those tincture bottles plummeting in the future? Is that
I think as you see consolidation going through. And, it's like every industry, the TV industry, the movie industry, you'll get the consolidation. And once you get consolidation, you'll get more continuity, and you'll be more apt to get exactly what you're you think you're buying on the shelf. And the prices, I think the price is going to go down. I mean, even with our process, it cuts out a lot of expense, and it's easier for us to process a lot of material cheaply. So it is going to bring the price down. I think.
Are you going to white label?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, white label, and then we'll probably license our technology to some of these bigger companies as we get down the road.
So, we have a couple bills that are going through the works, 841, and I can't remember the number on the one that takes it to 1%. Rand Paul. Well, I wanted to ask you too. I voted for Ron Paul. I supported him, and Rand. I like those guys. Yeah, I imagine you've crossed paths with them a few times.
Oh yeah, no, he's going to speak at the Kentucky Hemp Association's annual conference on August the 5th. But no, he's been really helpful.
Yeah,
it's been amazing.
What are the odds of that 1% passing? Because that'll take a lot of risk away from farmers.
I think it has a good possibility. I really do.
And then we need to get legislation where CBD is a supplement.
Yeah.
So you're optimistic, that's going to happen in the short term?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen quick.
Oh, excellent. I'm glad to hear that. All right.
Well, it's great talking with you.
Yeah, keep us posted, Joe. Don't be a stranger, and we'll get down there to Kentucky to visit you one of these days.
Great. Well, I look forward to it, Dave, and let's do this again.
All right. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate your time.
Take care.
I thought Joe was really interesting, really charming guy. And we're going to talk him into coming to Michigan in January, because that's where everybody wants to go.
I think, I've sat in on these for over a year. That was incredibly informative, and you got to figure out a way to work with that guy in Michigan. I mean, I caught the tail end where he was saying he was going to license the process. That perked up my ears.
Yeah.
I'm sure that would perk up the ears of some other players in iHemp. He's got it down, so.
Well, he's been doing it for a little bit.
Yeah.
He's got some good connections. It sounds like what he's doing, what he's working on today is going to bring in, we need, it's a challenge, and part of me is always promoting, we need this craft industry, we need this vertical marketing, and we need people to be able to make their own medicine, but at the same time, we need the big players to come in to scale this thing. So we need a blend, and fair regulation for both sides.
Yeah, he summed it up there with what they're trying to do. I mean, that's exactly the linkage that needs to be in place for all this to really go forward, right? Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, one thing that he said in there, I think is we need to clarify a little bit on the seed. If I understood it right, he was thinking that you need to have the DEA permit to get the seed.
For importing.
Yeah, but I don't think that's true, because when I buy the seed from HGI for growing, I don't have to have a permit or anything. So
maybe you were smuggling
special
too.
Stuff on the marijuana side, but I don't have to have a DEA permit for that.
Blues.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I didn't think. I thought that was over, but what?
Yeah, but I know when they first started, they had to. That's why Michigan State had a hard time getting involved with being able to do the research and help. And now they are now, but when they first tried to do that, they had all that problem with trying to get the seed from, because they had to have the DEA permit for sure. Yeah. So, yeah, but Joe, what a great guy. And I'm looking forward to having him at the expo for sure.
Yeah.
That'll be great. So, yeah. Yeah. All right. Are we ready for the kind of the close then right now?
Yes, sir. I've got a little more news, and then I've got
a little more news. It's quite a bit. I want to kind of go through it kind of quickly. Again, I want to remind everybody that July 15th is the deadline for you to get your acre certified with the FSA office if you're planting hemp this year. Also, if you grew hemp in 2020, there is what they call the CFAP program that you might want to apply for. There might be a little bit of help there for people. We talked about the webinars. Dave, I think the webinar you were thinking about is the same one on June 8th. It's the U.S. Hemp Authority and Food Chain ID. It's the same title. So I think that's when you're thinking about. That's June.
Yeah, probably somehow I put it on my calendar twice. Yep. Guess I really wanted to be there.
June. Yeah, you really want to make sure that. So that one's June 8th at 8 p.m. Or excuse me, 1 p.m. June 8th at 1 p.m. for that. June 22nd, again, the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, Navigating Regulations in the Hemp Industry. That's at 2 p.m. Also, we want to let you know that just because we're doing these podcasts and we show our pretty face on here, we're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. We've been working on this bill in Michigan called the House Bill 4517. There's actually been 4 rewrites of that bill. It's designed to clarify protections for consumable hemp products and addressing the Delta 8 issue here in Michigan. So again, we're working behind the scenes there. So just know that your dollars supporting iHempMichigan are helping the whole industry as a whole to do that. So Friday, June 25th, don't forget that's going to be the Hemp Working Network. Crazy Horse Saloon, 7 p.m. in Holland, Michigan.
Can't wait.
And on Saturday, June 26th at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., we have the Hempcrete Workshop at the Critter Farm. June 24th and 25th, the Hemp Leaders Summit in Fort Lauderdale. June 25th, get to know the USDA SBIR program. It's from 12 to 1:30 p.m. Indiana's kind of hosting that one. Hemp at the Crossroads is December 1st and 3rd in Plainfield, Indiana. The Midwest Hemp Database, if you're interested in submitting your material for testing and get a discount on that, that ends July 16th. Show Me Hemp is doing, Missouri is doing just a host of things that they're having fun with. June 16th at 11:30, this is Central Time. They're partnering with America Hemp Academy. They're going to talk about share the information with their company and the top-notch education they provide to their students. And if you're a Southern Hemp member, you get a 25% discount on their campus classes. Also, they are doing, and this sounds like a lot of fun, Dave, we might want to think about this for our little fishing trip. Thursday, June 24th at 10:30 p.m., the Show Me Hemp Associates have teamed up with the Show Me Hemp National Museum and Green Acres Health and Supply Store for a day of education and networking. And it's free to members and $15 for non-members. And it's going to be hosted at the Show Me Hemp National Hemp Museum. So 10:30 a.m. So that's going on. And then they have a Show Me Hemp Harvest at Picking on Picnicking. I guess
easy for you to say, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of like all the other rhymes. 3 days and 3 nights of live music, camping, swimming, food, vendors, workshops, friends and family. Fun brought to you by the love of Missouri Hemp. You can get tickets again. That's July 8th through the 11th at the Lost Hills Lake in St. Clair, Missouri. And then just a little bit of news here from Illinois. They're doing a bunch of stuff, and they're having some bills too that they need help with for the Illinois people. They have a what's their bill number here? HB 0147. So they need help. The act is back this year and still not very clear. It has already passed through the House and moving to the Senate. One thing clear, though, it's bad news for the hemp industry. It's paraded legislators as a solution to the public health crisis. It won't actually make you any safer, but it will serve to protect the interests of legal cannabis and tax revenues they generate. So some help that they need there if you're in Illinois listening to us there. And what else we got going on? That's about it for them. But a lot of stuff going on in Illinois. And Rachel's going to be attending the Hempcrete workshop. So we're looking forward to having her come up and help us with that as we put that on. So that's about all the news I got. So
there's another event too. Jennifer, my buddy that I met out in Denver, Jennifer Rouse from HBX, has an event coming up in Missouri about the time we need to go down fishing, maybe. It's late August, but we'll get all this. We'll get it on iHempMichigan. I'll share it out. We're going to do a better job of putting that calendar together. There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's really nice. So I'll see now that we're able to do the in-person stuff. A lot of stuff is happening. So that's for sure. For sure.
Yay! It's great.
All right.
Oh, and it's time.
Are we ready?
Yeah, ready.
Okay. Got up there, Dave? All right. Blueberry season is just around the corner. That's for sure.
Ooh.
Next week we'll have something with the strawberries because I know some strawberry farms are opening up this weekend for picking. So, but this is blueberry hemp crumble bars. Prep time's about 15 minutes. Cook time's about 45. So an hour all together. It makes about 12 bars. So you might want to make a double batch of this. This healthy blueberry crumble bars are made with wholesome ingredients and fresh blueberries. The juicy blueberry filling is tucked between 2 layers of delicious oatmeal and hemp seed crumble. So the ingredients on it are you need 2 cups of rolled oats and 7 tablespoons of coconut oil, half a cup of coconut sugar, half a tablespoon of sea salt, 2 tablespoons of hemp hearts. I always go a little heavy on that, so just because I like hemp hearts. And and then the filling is 2 cups of blueberries, the zest of 1 lemon, and a tablespoon of water, and a tablespoon of arrowroot powder or cornstarch. And the rest of the directions are on there, how to mix it all together and do it. Those of you that are good at making crumble, this is a great way to get the health of the hemp seed, the hemp hearts into your daily diet and enjoy something at the same time. So,
And you can find the recipe on iHempMichigan.com.
There you go. We've got them all on there. So next week, I'll be joining you from Denver for sure. So that'll be doing that. And Dave, who we got next week? We got anybody lined up?
You know, working on, I was wanting to talk to Courtney Moran, the lawyer out in Oregon about some of this legislation, but we're having a little trouble with the scheduling. She's wondering if we could pre-record. How'd you guys feel the pre-recording went this time?
Well, there's a lot of questions I wanted to ask, but eventually, as he wound through the whole discussion, he pretty much answered everything I was going to ask him. So,
okay. So let's table.
Oh, it's 2 weeks
release until.
I'm pushing this along. I'm pushing this along. I thought next week was Denver. Becky came in and says, "Hey, it's 2 weeks from now." So we have Joe from.
Oh yeah, it's the 7 Leafs.
7 Leaf. Yeah.
The genetics. We're going to talk about
genetics.
genetics.
And just to throw out a name that actually I introduced you guys to him at the event Friday, Rob Robar is a national CBD seller, almost 2,000 retail locations. So, and he's right here in Michigan. So, so
we'll talk to him. We've got a pretty good list. We're working into July right now on our list, and getting them queued up. We had to pivot with Joe Hickey, just because of the circumstances. Joe's funny. He's like, I don't like to plan things in advance, but I never know what's going to happen. It's like, sounds like the hemp industry.
So next week going to be Joe with 7 Leaf Genetics. We'll be having on the show.
All right, cool. Looking forward to it.
And in 2 weeks I'll be in Denver. So.
Yeah, and that's the week, the 17th, I think.
That's the 17th. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Everybody have a great week.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Peace and love. See you next week.